Hi, welcome to another Revenue Hub video series. Following the success of our AI series in the summer, please do check it out if you haven't seen them yet, we decided it would be great to get our expert partners' views once more. In the spirit of this time of year, we've asked them to predict what 2026 might have in store for the hotel industry. Now, through these videos, we are not inundating you with please subscribe and please like requests. You guys know what to do. But we would be interested to hear your thoughts on the predictions. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What are your predictions? Anyway, hope you enjoy it, and thanks again to our expert partners for taking part. Let's see what their predictions are. Hey, welcome to our 2026 Crystal Ball Predictions video series, which we know by the time if we revisit in 2027, they'll all be out of date, there'll all be something different, but who knows? Maybe you're going to land on some that we will look back and think, hey, you got it, you nailed it there for us. So let's get into it. First of all, welcome. How are things with you?
Good, thank you. I don't have a magic wand, so that would be easy now, but no, I'm all good. I think that would be the thing that I would like to have under the Christmas tree.
Yeah, it would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, predict. There you go.
Well, there we go. Let's see what Father Christmas might have for us for next year. So what have you got? What have you got for our first prediction?
Well, I'm thinking, I mean, of course, there's a lot going on in the world, but in the world of hospitality, and especially like on the global level in the world of travel, planning a holiday or a business trip or whatever, well, I know that will change a lot. I mean, where we used to be looking at, just a couple of websites and see what is out there. I think the whole impact that travelers will increasingly use any sort of AI agents, whatever is out there, and that can just autonomously get you a trip, compare everything across properties of hotels, flights, you name it. Actually, make sort of an itinerary for your travel without asking too many questions. Okay, the prompt is always the key, but I think that in this way it would break sort of the OTA dominancy in a way that they just look and search around, and then you have a preference for a certain way of booking your travels. But then it becomes differently, and it's sort of like it takes like the best ingredients and mixes it in a pot, and then just presents it as a nice dinner. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like you would have a Christmas dinner, you would have like a travel dinner, so to say.
And how do you think? I mean, you mentioned OTAs there, so that's obviously a focus on the individual traveler. How do you think it will play out when you're looking at from a meetings and an event space? Because the AI relies a lot on obviously the information being out there that it can pull in. So it requires those ingredients to be accessible to present to you as a meal. I mean, all of your time is spent around meetings, groups.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder, the ingredients maybe aren't quite so accessible when you're looking. So how do you think that will play into that space?
It's sort of like, Michelin star restaurants that you would have to go to and get the ingredients out there. Yeah, no, but you're right. The complexity of getting the information is different, of course, when it comes to groups and pulling data and getting information. So I think the overall getting information like a location or a venue as such, you could be getting a quick comparison of what would fit your request, and make like a first sort of draft or a first sort of a filter on these ones.
Yep.
When it comes to really breaking it down to the needs of a specific group or a meeting, it's a different story. The smaller ones, I think, like 50, 20, or even 25 persons, there's a lot of extra information on certain websites of a lot of hotels that are into meeting and events. So they would be giving that data, and that data could be found and then put into a like a ready-to-go meal, so to say.
Yep.
But the more complex ones, they would still be needing to get in contact with the hotels or the venues as such. Um, that is one thing. The way that they would then present the offer, I think that becomes the most interesting part. If you are still clinging on to the standard sort of this is it and here you go and it's a PDF or whatever it is, I think there you would lose momentum. If you would also jump on the whole possibility that you would have in order to really customize your offer to the needs of the customer
Hmm.
and the speed of that one, that would make the difference in converting business. So I think the finding of the venues and the rates and the information will still be in this phase. I mean, at least for 2026, although you never know. Who knows, what's going to be happening.
No.
And we're just giving a lot of information from PMSs to whoever. I think that will still be like, I wouldn't call it a bottleneck, but it will be still like a serious filter in order for the event organizer or the whoever who's organizing it will still be a bit more tedious than just a single
I've got
business
you.
or a leisure traveler.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, that makes sense. And I guess
Mhm.
so you've got that phase of that identifying possibly location, type of
Yeah.
property, and maybe, I mean, there's been a lot, I've read a lot recently where, and I know it's been spoken about for a while, so I'm not quite sure why so much has been written about it, but trying to make meetings, groups more experiential
Yeah.
around the actual meeting and group itself. So I guess that's somewhere
Hmm.
where AI could help you to pull and consolidate if you had some ideas in your head of what you could do in and around the meeting or group get together
Hmm.
that you're doing, but then that actual having to reach out with your specifics,
Yeah.
get the quote back, that's still going to be a task that would
Yeah.
have to be done almost individually, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. Yeah.
That
And
makes
I
sense.
think also there's the comparison when you look at it on an individual base, it's really easy to compare, your travels when it comes to the hotels and the rooms and whatever the facilities are. I think
Hmm.
the comparison when it comes to multiple layers, when it comes to the needs of the meeting, but also the needs of the extra things after the meeting or before the meeting, and also people coming from also different of locations on the long run, I'm sure there will be something
Yeah.
around there that will fix it. Yeah, yeah. And I think we'll be looking also at the eyes of, I mean, on the organizers of, and the platforms like, Cvent and those ones that are out there, Meeting Broker, the bigger ones. How will they incorporate and how will they then sort of also filter that one through to the hotels
Yeah.
that they are requesting for? Yeah.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. Number two, what's your second prediction that you've got for us?
Well, what we've seen so far, especially when it comes to meeting and events, but also to more like the business hotels, there is more portfolio hotels coming on board when it comes to either smaller groups or medium-sized groups that group themselves in order to have multiple dimension of a obviously portfolio overview. But what we see there, or what I predict and sort of there's a trend, and I think that will be moving forward, is that because systems used to be very complex,
Hmm.
when you would have 10 different hotel brands in one portfolio, it would be complex. That layer of complexity has been sort of broken, not only by the possibility of integrations, APIs, you name it, also with the help of all the platforms that we have on AI in building all these integrations and merging things together. So the easiness of smaller hotel groups getting, grouping themselves in a professional and also in a more way that they're more profitable, or they have better, they can get a better look at the consolidation data. I think that's really going to be something that's going to be kicking off. It already kicked off, I think, this year, but it will even kick off more in 2026
So, and when you
with the
say,
ease of data.
yeah, when you say a portfolio of hotels, do you mean specifically that if it's a small group of, say, I don't know, what's classed as a small group, 10, 12,
10.
15
Yeah.
hotels,
Yeah.
something like
Anything
that?
between 10 and 15. Yeah.
So with that, are you talking about it in terms of they would be an individual brand with 10 properties, or are you talking about some of the management companies that may have different brands,
Exactly.
but they're obviously
Yeah.
managing those assets, so to speak?
The latter, indeed.
Yeah.
It's different brands with different systems,
Yep.
which are not easy to overview if you don't have a data or a system layover,
Yep.
because they're sort of all in individual
Yeah.
silos.
Yeah.
And I think, and I know that that is what they're looking for in order to sort of comprehend, their value as a management company for handling these hotels. If you all have them at the same level, also the same, segmentation, you name, when everything is on that same level, it is really a strong performance, that you can really say, so this is how we're performing, this is where we're going, and this is how we can grow in adding on
Mm-hmm.
others as well, and in order
Mm-hmm.
not to only stay with 10, 15 hotels, but have a vision to
It's
grow
powerful.
to a better one. Yeah.
I guess in the same way, that's like at a more macro level, and the micro level was how we used to look at a hotel and how
Hmm.
each department used to operate in its silo. And then
Hmm.
we started to break down those barriers and try and share data across it to have a more complete overview of the hotel operations. And what you're
Yeah.
saying there is the trend is underway, but you will see that accelerating in 2026 as
Yeah.
these smaller groups start to look across all their branded
Hmm.
hotels and take a more overview as a management company of their whole operations rather than looking at each individual brand separately.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think also then the benchmarking within that portfolio becomes a lot easier because
Mm-hmm.
you have the same KPIs that you can apply, regardless of whatever brand or whatever type of hotel it is. And even, on a bigger scale, then put them within the portfolio in separate portfolios so that you could see, like, these type of hotels are Group A, Group C, and see how they reflect within your portfolio as a specific.
That makes
I
sense.
think
That
that
makes
makes,
sense.
yeah.
And you can often find sometimes the management companies will have multiple brands in the same location as well, aren't they? So whereas
Yeah.
you might be looking at your comparative comp set
Hmm.
against maybe a 4-star property and you may have some 3-star or some budget, if you're actually looking at and comparing against each other with an understanding of how those properties function differently, but
Hmm.
you may be able to then start to tap into some of your budget or 3-star customers that you could be looking at shifting into your 4-star,
Yeah.
maybe depending on what that information is showing you as you
Hmm.
start to compare across your
Hmm.
group.
No. Yeah, and I think also on top of that, you would have production levels of, certain accounts, certain groups that, could be also interesting for one of the other hotels in the
Mm-hmm.
portfolio. And cross-selling will also become a little bit more qualified because at least you know more about the customer or the profile of the account.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I can see the value in that being accelerated
There you
next year.
go. There you go. There you go.
Okay, prediction number 3. What have you got for us there?
Um, well, I think we touched upon there's well, I have two things, and I'm not sure which one to use the best. I think that the shorter one is you touched upon it about it's all about personalization. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
think I'm not sure if that's like a crystal ball thing. I think it's like a given already. It's
Yeah, yeah.
there now, and I think it will just be even more detailed, be more customized to any traveler, business group, or leisure traveler.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the third component, I think what becomes more and more interesting, we touched upon it a couple of times about net revenue and about the cost, but not only the cost on the room revenue will become more and more interesting to look at or take in the equation. I think it's about the total revenue and all the cost factors, not
Mm-hmm.
only for rooms, but also for F&B, others, you name it. The cost part versus the revenue part will become increasingly more interesting because again it links a bit back also to this portfolio hotels or this group of hotels. They would
Mm-hmm.
also have like to see what is happening within their portfolio on cost, not only on a hotel level. And we're very much more conscious about cost than a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
and now by seeing how can you easily sometimes calculate a cost with the help of any sort of AI, it will even become more and more increasingly interesting when we talk about making a budget, not only on revenue, but also what is the impact on cost when we shift channels, when we shift segmentation. And I think that will be also next steps for 2026, that we will be looking at these revenue streams versus costs very much differently than we've done in the past.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, pre-pandemic it was all revenue, post-pandemic it was recognition that without a guest we don't have a business, and without profit we're not sustainable. So suddenly the guest and the personalization and the experience takes a focus, profit takes a focus, and so then obviously cost comes into the equation. Your side of the business, which is meetings and groups and events, I mean, the complexities around breaking down costs, although the breaking down of the costs is simple, the allocation has often been the part that people have disputed. Are we getting to a point, as we focus more on the guest, that we look at that individual, whether they are staying in a room as a transient, leisure, corporate, or as one of 20 people in a group, and we start to allocate the costs? So if we start to allocate the revenue, we start to allocate costs associated down to the individual. So we actually roll it down, or drill down to an individual, and then maybe if they're part of a group, we roll it up to look at what that total group revenue was and what the total group costs are. But by focusing on one thing, we can narrow it down, and maybe does it not make it simpler, but does it helps us maybe to focus a little bit more?
Yeah, definitely. And I think also the comparison in cost then becomes really interesting to see, what is the cost of this transient individual traveler with, the commissions that are attached to it. And especially logically, it's the multiplier in spend that comes in at a certain time, that comparison of the cost of an individual booking with a multiplier of say 1.1 or something like that, versus the multiplier of a group booking with meeting and events or with a dinner or whatever it is at 1.6 or 1.7. Obviously, that margin is all of a sudden becomes a lot bigger. Taken in account, of course, that you would have, a lot of extra costs in this multiplier part that you would say. There is, of course, the workflow, there is the extra cost of whatever that is including in their packages and so on. So is this 1.1 and this 1.6, when it bears them to the cost, would it actually just bear out on 1.2 for everybody, or like on a 1.0? That would be super interesting to see. And we're doing study cases already now where we can, compare apples with apples. And the first start was already, of course, this net revenue, where we would look at the OTA commissions, we would look at the sales and marketing costs, or the loyalty costs, or the brand cost. But we haven't looked at it, well, at least not for my part, that much on when it comes to the segmentation, when it comes to groups or leisure groups, for that matter. Yeah.
And I guess coming back to your portfolio prediction, and then if you're looking at group business across those, and you might see which properties where you are getting groups and which has that higher multiple, and maybe then the strategy might be, well, do we adjust our business mix slightly and make sure that we're maximizing more in this property, because that gets us a 1.6 compared to 1.4, but then what's the impact, and what business do we then have to go after to try and balance that out?
Yeah, and I think especially what you said, what business do we have to go after? That also involves then the cost of sales. I mean, if you have like a typical hotel that would have 40% of their sales efforts go to say corporate individuals and another 60 to groups, but then you would see that actually the groups are more interesting and there's potential to grow. You could say, okay, let's focus 20% on these corporates and 80% on these groups, because of the fact that, and I think those learnings and those strategy changes can now be backed up, or will be backed up, not only by revenue streams but also by the cost streams.
Makes a lot of sense. Three good predictions.
Thank you. Well, like you said, let's see if we speak in like 6 or 7 months. Was it like total nonsense, or
or was it total revenue? So
there you go. That's a good one. That's a good one.
As you say, funny enough, everyone I've been talking to have been saying, okay, we must diarise towards the end of 2027 to review.
Yeah.
And like you said, most people said we'll probably have to check it in 6 months' time. It's moving at such a pace, so we will see. But
Yes.
we will come back, we will revisit, and then we will look again. But thank you so much for your time and for your predictions. Much appreciated.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Take care. Thank you for watching, and I hope you found the predictions discussion interesting. If you'd like to see any of our videos from our Summer AI series, here is a link to that playlist. And if you've missed any of the other prediction videos, here is a link to that playlist. And finally, can I genuinely just thank you all for watching or listening to our content? It really is appreciated, and we look forward to bringing you more in 2026. Thanks so much. Take care.